All right, so I didn't do this in the last video, but I did have a couple of people ask to see some examples that got, a 40 out of 40 or got a perfect score. So I picked out maybe one assessment from several different people to share some really strong assessments here. So these would be assessments that would have earned full credit. And in fact, the ones I picked out to show you, I think are exceptionally strong and do a really good job of achieving the task of a formative assessment. Okay, so this is one someone in your class has created. It's a translation task. They're going to ask a student to represent a number. The learning target says I can show how a number represents a quantity of a particular object. So I guess we're going to count some things. They've said this comes from understanding. Also, I think you could make a case for application or knowledge here. And they have the standard listed as ky.k.cc.4. Now, that coding has meaning. KY, of course, means it comes from the Kentucky standards. K means this is a kindergarten standard. CC means from counting and cardinality, which is a domain. Okay. So look here, when we look at this, we see this when I look this up. That standard says understand the relationship between numbers and quantities, connected counting to cardinality. So when we count things, we count those numbers in order. We don't count 1, 5, 10, 11, 3. We count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so if you're ever confused about what the standards mean, if you look over here on the right, you have some clarification here, okay, and what that means. Let's go back and let's look at the task at hand. So what this person has said they're going to do is they're going to put some stamps in the middle of the table and ask students to represent each number on their paper with the correct number of stamps. So does that activity show that a student can show a number representing a quantity? Yes, it does. Does it prove that students are going to count in order and they're going to be able to count with those number of objects they have? It matches the standard. It matches the learning target. That's exactly what we want to see. Okay. Now, as far as their rubric, this was as complex as it needed to be. If they got 3 out of 3, this person considered that mastery. If they got only 1 or 2, they were going to need some further instruction and practice necessary. Okay. Now, if you think they've just made a silly mistake, then that's something practice might be able to cure. If it's a considerable understanding, please do not put down that you're going to make them practice. Practicing something that they don't understand is not going to help. Repeating something wrong over and over again doesn't make it right. So we've got to add that additional instruction. So really good task there. So let me see here. I know I have another one pulled up. This is a good one. This is Matilda fraction, so a little bit higher level. I can solve addition, subtraction, fraction problems with unlike denominators. The standard specifically solve word problems involving addition and subtraction of fractions. So the target and the standard definitely match. So let's come look at the directions. Students are given a math problem on the smartboard and asked to solve independently. After 2 minutes, students will talk to their neighbor and use think, pair, share to discuss answers they got. Coming back as a whole class discussion to ensure everyone got the right answer. After discussing the answer, students will be asked to put their popsicle stick in the blue, got it right, orange got it wrong, and yellow got the wrong, still unclear. So now this is a good example of where self-assessment was used. Okay, so like we talked about in the video, it's okay to have self-assessment, but we need to have some sort of evidence for that. While this educator was allowing students to discuss, they're walking around and they're looking at that. Okay, they're monitoring that. They have a chance where they can see it. If there's not an opportunity there for you to observe what's actually been done and see if that seems to mesh with what the student's assessment is, okay, then that's where we have an issue. We can't just go with self-assessment. We need to see some evidence of that. And it's okay if sometimes it's just a walk around and monitor. But as we do more individual checks, we want to see that more in detail. Okay, so here what we said, students will pass with satisfactory if they place their popsicle stick in anything but yellow. So noting whose popsicle stick is in the yellow, that's going to be who gets the major help at that moment. Not that that's probably everybody who still has some questions, but that's kind of taking care of the biggest priorities first. And then if any of those popsicle sticks don't match with what the person saw as they walked around, then of course they're going to have to work with those students additionally. So standard matches, there's a rubric there that gives us an idea of what we're looking for. We do have some self-assessment, but we can see that the educator can monitor and very clearly see if what the student is saying matches what their work is. I would like it even better if they had to write it down, okay, and turn that in addition with their popsicle stick. But I still think the intent here is clear, okay? So also, I really like this one. This is also a submission that someone has given. Apparently, this is intended to be done in the middle of the lesson. It's a think, pair, share. The target, I can create representations of single-digit multiplication. The only issue I have here is this is legitimately not creating because they're not coming up with this on their own. We might need to look at that a little more. But if we look at the standard, now this person has a practice and a standard, okay? This tells me this is a third grade Kentucky standard, okay? OA, if you don't know what that means, if you look here in the standards themselves, that OA is the domain. So that OA stands for Operations and Algebraic Thinking. That's the domain that it comes from. So their standard says interpret and demonstrate products of whole numbers. So does the target match the standard? Yes, it does. Now let's go down here and let's look and see if the activity is going to match the standard. Students have time to complete the following questions. After a review, then they'll share their work with their partner. Some of it will be with class. Teacher will circulate and check students' work. That's good, okay? And then students will turn it into the teacher. So what are we asking students to do here? We want them to show an area model, this multiplication problem in all different ways. An area model, equal groups, okay, repeated addition, and then set that up in a word problem. So definitely we're interpreting this in 4 different ways. So phenomenal activity for that standards. Demonstrate products. So our interpretations, the purpose of those interpretations is to give us multiple ways to demonstrate those products. So really excellent job in terms of this activity. Down here, we see the lesson rubric. Now here, she or he, whoever created this, tells how points they're going to get. And that's great. This is where most of you stopped, though, if you lost points on this. You also needed this. What do I want? I want to see at least 3 or 4. I want to see them get a 3 or a 4, or I know I need to do some individual work with that student. It may just be simple. You may just have to clear up a little misunderstanding they have. It may be significant. Okay, so this was a really great activity. So hopefully seeing some of those can help you as you are evaluating your own work on those sorts of things.